Hi everyone, so today's video is about traver and the beginnings of half pass. So what a traver is you're keeping the horse's shoulders on the track and you're asking their hindquarters to come to the inside and the horse is bent in the direction that it's going. So this video is basically how to do that. The first thing you need to teach your horse to do is how to move away from your leg, or how to move its hindquarters away from your leg. So I start this by doing an exercise called turn on the forehand, which is basically where you're asking the horse's front legs, so its forehand, to stay still, and you're asking the horse's hindquarters to move around them. I always start this exercise on the track because I find the wall or the fence or whatever arena it is you're in helps them to understand that what you want them to do is stay in the same place with their front legs, but just rotate their bottoms around it. So the way I'm doing this is I'm saying halt with my body, and I'm putting my outside leg back slightly behind the girth and I'm pushing. Very much the same way that if you're on the ground and you wanted them to move their bottoms over, you'd push them a bit with your hand, and that's what your leg does. Once your horse has got to grips with that on the track, it's then time to take them off the track to see that they're really understanding the half halt aid down your body and your reins, and that you can control the hindquarters so that they move around the front legs. So how I'm doing this is very much the same as what I was doing on the wall, is I'm saying stop with my body, so I'm pushing down into the saddle, sitting quite heavily, tightening my tummy muscles up and saying halt a little bit down the reins, and putting the leg that I wanted to move away from, so in this case my left leg, slightly behind the girth, and I'm pushing. So you're trying to get the horse to really step under its body with the hind leg that you're pushing away, and it's a really good suppling exercise to get them to step well and truly under their bodies. So that one, although I patted her, it wasn't actually particularly good, because what she does to the left, so moving away from my right leg, is she tends to fall out too much through her left shoulder because she gets too much bend to the right. So the trick with this is really to try and keep their head and necks relatively straight so they don't lose their balance towards the outside, which means that they then can't cross under quite so well. Once your horse has got to grips with the turn the forehand exercise, I then move on to doing a leg yield up the track. So you're not asking for the bend in the direction of travel yet. All you're asking them to do is bring their bottoms to the inside. So it's exactly the same aids, so the same instructions to the horse, as you're saying stop to the front end and you're pushing the back end slightly, or saying slow down to the front end. You're not saying stop. So basically the hindquarters end up overtaking the front legs. And same as anything else, build up on it gradually. So don't ask your horse to do the whole long side when you first started. Just do a few steps. Be happy with even one step and a good reaction. So you put your outside leg back a little bit, give a little touch, and then the horse moves over. Once your horse has got to grips with that in the walk, it's then time to move on to doing it in the trot. So same in the trot is you ask their front legs to slow down with your half halts, and then you put your outside leg back a little bit and ask their bottoms to move in. So it's really just gradually building up. And then once your horse has got to grips with the leg yielding up the track, you gradually start to ask them to look down the track. So here I'm keeping her facing straight down the track and I'm pushing her bottom to the inside. And I'm sitting very slightly onto my inside seat bone because I want to encourage her to bend around my inside leg. And then it's the same as anything else. Repeat the same thing on both reins. So here I'm doing the leg yield exercise on the right rein, asking her bottoms move over to the right with no bend. And then gradually you start to ask them to wrap themselves around your inside leg. So I'm going to sit onto my right seat bone, put my right leg on, or hold my right leg on, feeling almost like I'm scooping her rib cage up around my right leg. Little tiny softening feeling, so squeeze and let goes down my inside rein to encourage her to stay loose to the inside, saying steady a little bit with my outside rein, and then putting my left leg back to ask her bottom to move over to the inside. So it really is just a case of gradually building up to it. And this process takes quite a bit of time, because if you think about it, up until this point, whenever you put your inside, well, when you put a leg on, they learn to move away from it. And here, when you're doing your traver or your half pass, which is what I'm starting to play with a little bit there, it's the first time that you're asking the horse to kind of go against the leg, as it were. So you want their rib cage to move away from your leg, but you still want them to go towards it. And some horses find that really difficult to understand. And you can see the half pass is basically a traver, but across the diagonal. So you treat your diagonal the same way that you do with the track, as you ask them to look towards a certain point on the other end. So here I use a marker, so making her look at the far end corner marker, keeping her head and neck and shoulders facing towards it, and then asking the hindquarters to move over a little bit. And then the same as anything else, you repeat it in the canter. So there's the traver, asking her to look straight down the track. And then I'll come into a half pass in a second. So I'm picking the centre line. I'm keeping her looking towards the centre line, her shoulders going on that line towards the centre line, and asking the hindquarters to move in. So here I'm doing it towards the camera, keeping her shoulders and her head facing towards the camera, and asking her bottom to move in. And eventually, I will want it more parallel than that. I will want her hindquarters to stay in a straighter line with her shoulders. I want more bend. I want more expression. But this is really just showing the first stages of teaching the real baby basics of the traver and the half pass. And as I always say, don't expect it to be pretty or glamorous when you first start doing it. It will be messy, but through practice, it will get better. And as always, praise your horse and tell them that you love them.